Wonderful world, but is it, ladies and gentlemen? Global philanthropy, that's my topic. And when you hear that song, it's a wonderful song, it's emotive, it connects you, it's lovely. But is the world really like that? Or do we need to add a question mark to the world? Do we say the wonderful world? Well, here in Canada, I have to tell you, I do think it is a wonderful world. And it's not bad in England either. But actually, if you go outside these wonderful countries, what is the rest of the world like? What does it really feel like? What's been happening in that world that's driving the importance of philanthropy? Why are we dedicating a whole evening to philanthropy? Well, I would start, when it comes to philanthropy, in the mind. And I would start with that wonderful thing of saying, do you see the glass half full? Do you see the glass half empty? Or do you actually see the glass as twice as big as it needs to be? Whichever way you look at it, it starts in the mind. And that's the power of philanthropy. It's about the mind. It's the mind that's actually going to tell us whether nowadays we can cope with what we're told is a flat earth. When Lieberman wrote The World is Flat over 10 years ago, everybody said, wow, what a great theory, what a great approach. But actually it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because now we are in a flat world. We're in a very, very flat world. Because technology, economy, it's driving that flat world. That's the world we live in. But is that really flat in terms of equality? Do we really believe that? No. Because in a flat world, you have polarization. You have a polarization of the haves and the have-nots. We're in a world which is in meltdown in population, in climate, in economy. Look around you, read the papers. And you actually begin to think, therefore, why is it that philanthropy seems to be on the up? And thank God it is. Because you see, philanthropy isn't about giving. Philanthropy is actually about empowering people. You reach out to these emerging markets. People are now actually using the technology, and they're now saying philanthropy is for us. We can use philanthropy because actually we can't rely on the politicians. You might recognize the most powerful man in the world behind me. And even he says you can't rely on the politicians. Have you ever thought about society, ladies and gentlemen? Have you ever thought about society and the three sectors that we sometimes talk about? Have you ever thought that there's the first sector, the government sector, and that government sector is meant to therefore look after us, protect us? Ha ha. Have you ever thought about the corporate sector? We all know the number one driver, no matter what we're told, is profit. Everything else is secondary, and it has to be. It's logical. I don't have any problem with that. And then you have the third sector, or civil society, as we call ourselves. And we're the people who are meant to fill the gaps. We're the people who are meant to take control and really champion this stuff. But let me tell you what's happening. You see, that Venn diagram is nicely equally spaced, but it's not. Because now in the world, governments can't cope. The population's too big. The issues are too big. They're driving the corporate sector to take more responsibility through CSR. And they're partnering with us, sure, but actually civil society, in my view, is where it's at. Philanthropy is the fuel of civil society, and you've got to believe that with a passion, because otherwise you're going to look like this. You're going to feel like this. And as a fundraiser all my life, I can't afford to feel like this. It's not an option. You see, ladies and gentlemen, for global philanthropy, I'm going to offer you faith, hope, and charity. Faith, because, you know, I'm going to show you one of the most devastational pictures of the last few years in the United Kingdom. Here it is. This is 2011. Some of you might remember, London was burning. We had riots, civil unrest. People took to the streets every night and trashed our capital city. And that's what the media showed you. But what they didn't show you enough in Canada was this. Every morning, those communities cleaned it up and they made a stand because they said, we take responsibility for our community. I believe the best in people. That's the picture that I want to see because that gives me faith. Where do I get hope from? I get hope from people as well, but I get hope from emerging generations. I'm one of those very positive, glass half full. I believe in positive generations. I think the modern donor is being shaped now. And I believe it's cool to care. I love that term. It's cool to care. They're expressing their values. They take responsibility for community. So all this rubbish about, you know, the new emerging generations, I don't buy it. Philanthropy is in the blood of humanity. It's the love of humanity. And where do I get my charity from? Well, of course, we all know charity isn't just about money. It's about money, time, goods, voice, influence. But actually, in the few seconds I have to talk about money. So behind me, you have a colour representing 20% of the world's population. So you have 5 colours in a champagne glass. But the top 20% of the world's population, ladies and gentlemen, wait for this, they own 83% of the world's wealth. The next 20%, they own 12% of the world's wealth. And for those of you mathematically challenged, that's 95%, which is controlled by 40% of the world. And you tell me we live in a wonderful world? What is that about? What are we talking about here? Let me show you some of the people in the very top of that champagne glass. Let me show you the most remarkable picture you will see tonight, because, ladies and gentlemen, that is $126 billion of wealth in 12 people. Am I upset? Am I depressed? No. Why not? It's simple. Because every one of those is leading philanthropy, and they believe in philanthropy with all their heart and soul, and I believe in them for that reason. And I'm happy to declare that. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not in that picture, but I am in this one. You see, fundraising is in my blood. 32 years as a fundraiser, they're nailed down the lid for me as a fundraiser. And you see, it's about believing that the glass is half full. It's about that passion. And it's about doing something, which is what philanthropy is about. So one lesson to the fundraisers in this room, and those of you who are curious about how we work, there's only one way philanthropy is going to work in the future. We have to break the rules. The rules, all rules are off now, ladies and gentlemen, because you see, the point is that actually history is made by the people who break the rules. I believe in philanthropy with every part of my body, but it's actually history breaking the rules. So I'm going to finish my Walrus talk, all too brief, with making every one of you break the rules in this room. You're all going to break the rules. We're going to do something never done in a Walrus talk before. This is going to really upset the broadcast. You see, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. It's very, very simple. Watch the screen. It's a quiz. Here's the question. Rearrange the letters to spell out an important part of the human body, which is even more useful when erect. Are you ready? There's the letters. Have you got it? So after 3, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to shout out what the word is. No holding back. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Toronto, you're too kind. Thank you so much.